Charlotte Perkins Gilman, an early critic of marriage, was not the first to ask questions about what marriage meant for women. Her attention to the problem at a time when others were beginning to confront the issue allows us a glimpse into the newly evolving identities of women. It's worth looking at them closely. Gilman was a relative of the distinguished Beecher family. Her aunt, Catherine Beecher, you'll remember her, had written volumes about how to construct an efficient domestic life. Gilman herself was born in 1860. Her father, Frederick Beecher Perkins, abandoned the family just a few years later. He seems to have left because her mother experienced great difficulty at Charlotte's birth and was warned to have no more children. In the 1860s and early 70s, in the absence of birth control devices, that meant no more sex. But even if Frederick left in order to ensure the life of his wife, he abandoned Charlotte and her brother to an insecure and poor living. Genteel Mary Perkins, without the means to set up her own household, relied thereafter on her husband's relatives. Charlotte married at 20 and gave birth to her only daughter, Catherine, at 21. The birth left her in a deep depression. At 24, she left her husband, Walter Stetson, and took her daughter with her to California. A few years later, she turned her daughter over to Stetson's custody, believing the child was entitled to be loved by a father as well as by a mother. Gilman's first book, Women and Economics, published in 1898, addressed the marriage question indirectly. Women and men, she argued, were both essential for economic survival. Dependent on men and confined to the home, women remained helpless to protest men's decisions. And yet, absent women in the home, men would be unable to work outside it, and families unable to survive. To Gilman, it seemed merely logical that women be entitled to work outside the home for wages. It was ridiculous, she thought, to believe that the function of marriage and motherhood unfit women for an economic role, and especially for economic production. Gilman was especially insistent that the condition of motherhood not only did not unfit women for positions in the workforce, but actually should be a pathway for women to work. Open jobs to women, she argued, and provide home roles for those men who chose to do them. Gilman's book attracted wide attention, and she became the center of a community of women we've come to identify with modernity. In 1903, now living in New York, she published a second book called The Home. Its text is preceded by a poem that serves as an anthem for women of her period. Imagine the home without walls, she suggests. Imagine the home not shut off from the world, but part of it. On the one hand, the home represents, in her words, safety, comfort, mother. But then the poem's narrator hears a bugle call piercing the heart, filling the sky. The world is crying. Hear its needs. Home is part of life. I am the whole. Home is the cradle. Shall a whole life stay cradled in comfort through the working day, she asks. And her answer to that question is no. Women have a responsibility, a duty to go out into the world to take their nurturing ability, their skills at organization, their skills at rearing children into the world where they might exert a wider influence. In the yellow wallpaper, Charlotte Perkins Gilman's best-known work, and one that some of you may have read, she describes what it's like for a woman to remain confined within the four walls, first of home, then of a single room, and how those four walls consigned women to live in the dark and slowly drove them crazy. Charlotte Perkins Gilman spoke for a generation of women, among them Jane Addams and Ellen Gates Starr, who decided to set up house in the slums of Chicago, where they could provide services and be good neighbors to the community around them. The somewhat younger Crystal Eastman, born in 1881, chose to interpret the call to serve the world by working on government investigatory commissions to ameliorate the lives of working people. Married and the mother of 2 children, Eastman chose to live, as she wrote eloquently, marriage under 2 roofs, each partner keeping a toothbrush at the home of the other. Among Crystal Eastman's close friends, we count Ida Rao and Inez Milholland, both well-known suffragists, and Henrietta Rodman. Rodman, a graduate of Teachers College at Columbia University, had decided that she didn't much believe in marriage and would become a high school counselor at New York's Wadley High School for Girls. After 15 years at the same school, she decided to marry. She didn't care much for marriage, she tells us, but she wanted to challenge the Board of Education's practice of firing women teachers and female employees on marriage. The policy was inflexible, applying to all women, no matter how good at teaching they were, whether or not they supported children or other family members, and even if they never intended to have children of their own. Rodman married and predictably lost her job. When her lawsuit against the Board of Education captured public headlines, a delighted Rodman pursued the issue. She didn't really care whether she got her job back or not, but she did want to publicize the general policy against hiring married women. In the end, she did just that, convincing large numbers of women that they needed the vote if they were going to change public policy.